These are really cute because they're funny, but actually they're true to life. It says that I've learned that no one is perfect until you fall in love with them. Yeah, but that's got to have a PS on that, a postscript. There's got to be a postscript on that because there's a lot of divorces out there. So all that perfect love is gone. All right, here's another one. That a smile is an inexpensive way to improve your looks. Yeah, and you can smile in tongues, and everybody around in the world knows it. Unless you're smiling when something's going wrong, they wonder what you're up to. Yeah, I like this. That when your newly born grandchild holds your little finger in his fist, you're hooked for life. All the grandparents are saying, yeah. Till they grow up and give you grief. And then I got a postscript on every one of them today, don't I? Sorry about that. I like this. Everyone that lives on top of the mountain, everyone wants to live on top of the mountain, but all the happiness and growth occurs while you're climbing it. It's kind of true. When you obtain your goals, like then what? All right, the last one. That I've learned that the less time I have to work with, the more things I get done. That is true. People in business, your bosses, they'll know that if he wants to get anything done, you find the busiest person. The person who never gets anything done, if you give it to them, they're not going to get that done either. For every action, there's a reaction. We've learned that from our youngest days. There's also a law of inertia that says for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Of course, that doesn't always hold true when it comes to the principles of God, but it seems to want to hold true for what the people in the world want to tell us today, that if we do evil, good things are going to come to you. The opposite reaction, where if you do good, bad things are going to happen. And sometimes we think that, and these phrases will say, there's no good deed goes unpunished. And it's like, why try? We live in a world that lives where it's telling us evil is good and good is evil. And why try? Because it won't get you anywhere anyway. A couple of weeks ago I did a sermon. I called it The Voices of the Prophets, and it was probably one of the strongest sermons I've given. It was a very emotional sermon. And I gave that on a day that I heard a story that I want to talk about today. I want to follow through. This is not a part 2 by any means. However, I believe it's important in the day we live to address things that happen in the world to make us aware of the problems that come upon us and upon our kids and our families if we're not on the ball and having the armor of God on us. The action creates the reaction. For example, if I push on an object, well, it's obvious that the reaction is that object that I'm pushing on is going to move. Well, not always, but that is the opposite reaction. For example, if I push down on this, I cannot move it. And I can't see it being moved. But if I had a gauge, I could measure the pressure that's being exerted in PSI, pounds per square foot, upon the individual area that I'm pushing. If I take the pressure and I increase it, quite often I can take and create a dent or a movement in the object that I'm pushing. I may not be able to see it with the naked eye. The laws of physics tell me it's happening whether I can see it or not. We need to understand those principles. Those physical principles of nature, God tells us, explains the laws of the spiritual nature, the laws that God gives us that are acting upon our lives. When you say something or you do something, there's an action and a reaction to what you say or done. I can't see it. I hear it, but I don't see it. Somewhere in God's realm, there's a gauge that measures what you just said. It is written in the laws of God and is recorded, either for or against. The Scripture says, every idle word will be taken account of. Now, we don't think that way. We think that we can say something and get away with it because there's no way to gauge what was just said in our eyes. I just push on this. I can't see any action. If I push hard enough, do you realize I will create heat? The heat is from the laws of physics showing pressure being exerted against molecules that are being compacted and creates a heat. We understand that when we look at the laws of physics. The human mind, carnal as it is, cannot understand the spiritual laws that apply to what we say and what we do. And so the world goes about doing whatever it seems fit in its own mind. Pressure can cause a chain reaction. Hollywood is good at this, is that they will take a movie, a comedy movie, and then in all the background, they were setting up, and you're seeing what's going to happen when this person steps through a door or trips over something. And back with the Keystone Cop days and back when they had the silent movies, they were really, really good at that. And the audience would be waiting for the action to take place to see the reaction. We know that happens in dominoes. And they got people who will spend days, I mean absolutely days, setting up dominoes around a room. And they'll have cameras all over this whole room, and one person will press that one domino, and it's gone. And they'll watch this domino running all over the place. And I've seen them climbing up stairs, and I've seen them going over pool tables and hit a ball, and the ball run down the cue sticks, and that ball goes into the hole and runs around, hits another domino, and it's gone across to another table. Absolutely fascinating watching the chain reaction. In Russia, there was a little thing called Chernobyl. You might remember that. A nuclear plant where it had a meltdown to some degree. Everything within so many, hundreds of miles, dead. Nothing can live there for who knows how many years. The reaction that took place because what was exacting upon it by that meltdown of the nuclear, that little nuclear energy plant that they had over there. A nation that goes through a war, the action it's exerted upon that nation may be to rid evil, but because the evil that existed, or whatever the reason was, the entire nation will go through the reaction or the secondary action of whatever took place. Right? Now, we basically understand all this, don't we? We know that those things happen. When Katrina came through this area, the flooding, that was the action. The reaction is still going on and will go on for decades. People lost their lives. Families on the interim now are being reacted by the loss of many of those lives. Why is it that we cannot see that with sin? Why is it that we cannot see when something happens that changes a person's life? Why can we not see when innocence is being robbed from our children? The indictment on our nation today is beyond what can be fathomed by allowing the evil to take place that's destroying our youth and the lives of people today. This is going to be a sermon that is called The Children of Disobedience. Now, the first time I heard that, you know where my reaction was? The action is the children of disobedience. Well, you know where your mind thinks? The children, right? That's not what the phrase says. They are the children of disobedience. The indictment is not on the children necessarily. The indictment is on the parents. It's upon the society that allows the evil to exist that's destroying the youth. I want to talk about that today. When I gave that sermon 2 weeks ago, and I talked about the voices of the prophets, it was relating to California passing the law allowing gays to marry. And how I believe that would begin the domino effect of continuing to bring down the morality and bringing down the laws of God within our country. Those laws exist today that bring about prosperity or bring about curses. I want to turn to a scripture to begin with. It's in Ecclesiastes. Because I want to talk about another news story that I heard on the very day that I was given that message. And when I heard that story, I literally was speechless. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to react. And I'm going to tell you about what that story is, and you've all heard it by now. It's not going to be anything new. I'm going to go to Ecclesiastes chapter 8, and I'll pick up the story in verse 11. Because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil. Now, there's a couple points here that I want to like to bring out. First of all, is that if I push on something or I throw this paper, the reaction is the paper is going to fly until it stops. When a person sins because they can't see the sin, well, they don't realize the repercussions of that action. And because they have not felt the repercussions of that action immediately, therefore they've either thought they've got away with it, or secondly, they don't know that it was wrong. Now here's the problem. If we take someone from a child and you know they're about to put their hand in a fire, you grab it and you take it out right away, right? Well, the child may not realize that it was that bad, so he's going to do it again when nobody's looking, but as soon as they feel that heat, they pull it out right away. They don't do it again. See, sin's a little different. You don't realize that you've done something, but the penalty for what just took place is built inside of you, and it's changed. It has literally changed the structure of your mind to see things differently than you saw them before. Now, because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, well, they get away with it. Or did they? Now, the indictment on our country here is what I want to talk about in our nation. There was a story, and I think it was about 18 children, teenagers, who entered a pack to become pregnant. You heard that? Went across the nation. Gasp went out from across the nation. I heard the story right before the sermon, before I was getting ready to deliver the message, and I didn't know how to react to that. I was troubled for a couple reasons. Is that there could be that many kids who could come together in a society that what? Says it's wrong? Well, yes and no. And they want to wonder, how could they do that? Now, let's go back into a society and see where these things come from. Turn on television, and what do you see? Just yesterday, I was flipping to CNBC to catch the financial network, day before yesterday. And there was a program on where the daughter, I don't even know what the program is, where the daughter was talking about her mother putting her on TV and doing so much nude stuff. And so she wanted to turn the tables for the mother to get the mother in front of the camera to be just as nude as she was. And the mother does. So everybody wonders, well, how can she be so comfortable? That's just one TV show. They got shows with the Playboys and Playmates and the porno channels. The music you listen to today, the rap music with the F word is being spoken almost every other word. And it's being filtered into your minds. And you know what? The kids think it's funny. And they don't understand. It's ruining their lives. Because they haven't felt the heat from the fire in their lives yet. These young girls who made that pact evidently didn't understand